welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher. So let's jump right into it. We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is going on, YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and thank you for joining me for another video here on the channel. Of course, today is Thursday. It is time for my Hot 10 breakdown of the week. If you guys aren't familiar with this one, I take the 10 hottest comics according to the Key Collector app, and I break them down for you guys one by one, telling you guys out there if I'm buying these books at these prices or staying the hell away. The one thing I'm going to drop a hint: there's some great books on this week's list, and I can't wait to do it. Before we get started in the video, like always, guys, I want to remind you, if you're not a current subscriber of the channel, do me a favor, go ahead, click that sub button for me, smash that like button. Once we get to 5,000 subs and we're under 200 away, I'm giving away an Iron Man 1. With that said, if you haven't checked out all my new t-shirts and sweatshirts down below, check them out, and let's get into this week's Hot 10 breakdown of the week. At the 10 spot this week is a copy of Tomb of Dracula #1 and the first appearance of Dracula in Marvel Comics, and a CGC 7.5 just sold last week for $532, up 10% over the average. We also had a Slab 6.5 sell for $421, up 12% over the average. You guys remember when this book was real hot during the Werewolf by Night series? They were going to say that one of those actors was going to portray Dracula in that show. It did not happen. It started to creep in a little bit. Again, if you like Bronze Age keys, especially horror keys like this, I'd be absolutely a buyer of this book if you can hang on to it for the long term. Other than that, I'd probably be staying away. Coming in at number 9 this week is a book that hasn't been on the list in about a year and a half. It is a copy of Nova #1 and the first appearance and origin of Nova, Richard Rider, and a CGC 9.4 just sold last week for $249, up 5% over the average. We also had a CGC 8.0 sale for $157, up 23% over the average. All of a sudden, this book is starting to get hot again. Again, another book, if you love the character, you might want to own. Other than that, it's not an investment book. I won't be going out and going crazy buying this book right now. But if you love the character and you want to own it, do not let me stop you. At number 8 in this week's list is a copy of Akira #1, of course, the science fiction series that takes place in a futuristic Tokyo after a mysterious explosion that kicked off World War III, and a CGC 9.8 just sold last week for $555, up 12% over the average. Again, I told you guys a couple weeks back I wasn't too familiar with this book, but I do know that Taika Waititi is still to be developing a film around this comic. I won't be buying it for that, but if it's still cheap, around $555, and you want to own it, be my guest, add it to the collection. At the 7th spot on this list is a monster key. It is a copy of Daredevil #1 and the first appearance and origin of Matt Murdock and Daredevil, and a CGC 4.0 just sold last week for $3,930, up 1% over the average. Why 1%? Why is it on this list? We also had a Slab 3.5 copy sell for $3,450, again only up 2% over the average. I know it's a big dollar increase, 2% for a book like this. Either way, you guys know I love this book. It's one of my top Silver Age keys I want to own in my collection for the long term. If you're interested in owning this book, I'd pick it up, but don't expect to sell it over the next couple of years. At number 6 on this list is a book we haven't seen on this list in quite some time. It is a copy of Batman #232 and the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul. Of course, this is also the second appearance of Talia al Ghul. Either way, a CGC 9.4 just sold the prior week for $2,795, up a crazy 23% since July. We also had a CGC 5.0 sell for $439, up 17% over the average. You guys know I've been in love with Silver Age Batman keys, and this is one of the best you could buy. A true first appearance with the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul. A lot of them out there, like the first Silver Age appearances, I want to own them, but they're not really spiking in price as much, so keep that in mind. But this one, the likes of Batman 121, and of course Batman 181, 3 of my top favorite Silver Age Batman keys. Yes, I'm a buyer of this one. Coming in at number 5 is a book that's been all over this list for the better part of 2 years. It is a copy of New Mutants 98 and the first appearance of Deadpool. And of course, you guys know I'm only a buyer of this book in a 9.8, and a CGC 9.8 just sold last week for $1,625, up 4% over the average. Why do I say I only want to own a 9.8? For me, there are so many copies of this book out there. If you just want to own the book and you don't care how much you spend, then any grade is fine. But for me, if I want to own this book, I want to own the best possible grade I can. At the 4th spot on this week's list is a copy of Flash number 139 and the first appearance of Professor Zoom, the Reverse Flash. And of course, there's rumors out there right now, if you haven't seen the movie yet, that the other Flash in that movie is possibly Professor Zoom. Either way, guys, we had a CGC 6.0 sell for $900, up 16% over the average. We also had a slab copy of a 3.5 sell for $360, up only 3% over the average. My biggest fear with all these Flash keys right now is this. My biggest fear with these Flash keys is that once this movie comes out, all these speculative Flash keys that are going up right now are going to go right back down in value. If you're willing to hold on to these books for the long term, I'm guaranteeing a profit. Other than that, I'd be very wary. I love this book, but just be careful right now. At number 3 on this week's list is a copy of Marvel Preview number 4 and the first appearance of Star-Lord in a magazine, and a CGC 9.4 just sold last week for $1,009, up a crazy 39% over that average. We also had a slab copy sell, a 7.5 for $300, up 3% over that average. Again, we kind of got confirmation that Star-Lord is going to be hanging around in the MCU, but I will say this, if you don't own this book already, why go out and buy it right now? I actually like this book. I don't collect too many magazine style books, and I believe those magazine style books are what hinders people from going out and buying these first appearances. However, I do love the character. It's one of the MCU characters that they've developed in the movies that people really didn't know before those films came out. So yes, if you're willing to hold on to this book for the long term, I'll give it a thumbs up. Other than that, I'd be staying away. At the 2 spot on this list is a copy of Star Wars Heir to the Empire number 1 and the first appearance of Admiral Thrawn, and a CGC 9.6 just sold last week for $400, up 12% over the average. We also had a CGC 9.4 sale for $250, up 16% over that average. The one thing I'm noticing about this book on this list for the better part of a month and a half is that I haven't seen a 9.8 copy sell on the Key Collector app. So tell me, is this book worth buying here at these prices? You know I'm not a Star Wars modern collector, so I'm not buying it, but hey, if you're gonna buy it, go out and get a 9.8. I haven't seen one sell on this app since. And at the top spot this week, a new number 1. It is a copy of Incredible Hulk number 271 and the second appearance of Rocket Raccoon. Of course, we all know the first appearance was in a magazine-style comic, Marvel Preview number 7, and a CGC 9.6 just sold last week for $425, up 13% over that average. We also had a CGC 6.0 sale for $160, up 34% over that average. Why all of a sudden is this book hot? Go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. You may find out why. Either way, I'm not spending this kind of money on this character right here, right now, especially when speculation, we don't know what's going to happen with this character going forward in the MCU. Either way, a cool key. If you want to spend the money, go ahead. If not, like me, I'd be staying away. That's it for the list this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Some awesome books finally showing up on this list. I could probably give a thumbs up to any of these books on there if you're interested in these characters and holding them for the long term. It is now time for my best buy of the week. You know the best book on this list for me is that Silver Age Grail. It is a copy of Daredevil number 1 and the first appearance of Matt Murdock and Daredevil. Anytime you have a major character first appearance on this list, as long as it's the only one on here, it's gonna be the best buy of the week. One of the best you can get from the Silver Age. Hope you guys enjoy this list. It's Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.